Uh, yeah, yeah, I think we can start. So I'll very quickly introduce
Okay.
Mr. Krishna Kumar Sinha. He's advisor of Innovista, and Mr. Sinha holds a degree in mechanical engineering and a postgraduate degree in production engineering from IIT Delhi. And he embarked on his career as an Indian Engineering Services Officer in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. So yeah, sir, I request you to please start the session and take it forward. I'll
Thank you,
just
Satyam.
share
So,
my
a very
screen.
warm welcome to all participant and expert speakers to this 11th session of the talk series Phase 2 being conducted by Modern Energy Cooking Services Program through its in-country partner, Finovista. Welcome on my behalf and also on behalf of MEX program in India. The topic of today's discussion is tackling ambient air pollution through electric cooking. This talk series is one of the major and very successful initiative undertaken under MEX program in India to promote clean cooking, and we are now at in phase 3 after successful completion of phase 1 and phase 2, each having 12 sessions on different subjects related to promotion of electric cooking in India. Today's session, as I said, is the 11th one. So we have completed all. We are in 35th session of the talk series. If we count right from the first session, which was held way back 2 years, and this talks series has emerged as one of the most important platform for stakeholders in the field of electric cooking or clean cooking, share their experience and ideas and suggestion, and based on that explore avenues to address the specific challenges which are being encountered in transition to electric cooking in India. The challenges are many, no doubt, but there are solutions which are emerging with these kind of interaction. Uh, as regard to the topic of today's discussion, air pollution, I mean, those who are living in Delhi will understand it very quickly. But anyway, it's a very unfortunate situation, but the fact that air pollution or ambient air pollution level among in India is among the highest in the world. Those especially living in the northern India plains, also called Indo-Gangetic plains, are exposed to very unhealthy levels of pollution, especially PM, particulate matter 2.5 pollution level. And these pollution sources are too many, and though there are not much studies done as to how much percentage is coming from each one, but we know broadly which are the major sources of pollution causing the gray air which we see nowadays also in Delhi. Now, New Delhi, unfortunately, is the most polluted city in the world as per World Air Quality Report 2024, with an average AQI level of 267. In fact, today in some areas of Delhi, I was watching, it is more than 400 today. In my area, it is around 300 plus, but in many areas, it's more than 400 PM 0.2.5 index, and that comes under severe level of pollution. Now we know all that how harmful it is, because in concentration of PM 2.5 in New Delhi is nearly 10 times higher than that specified in WHO guidelines for that kind of pollution. It is more, I mean, that many times higher. So you can imagine the kind of devastating effect it has on people's health. Its health impact is, of course, very devastating, causing more than 2 million deaths in India in a year. And it is a kind of silent killer because you don't feel it. I mean, just like that. Then its impact on the economy is equally bad in terms of waste man days or health, impact on health, productivity, all those. Somebody has calculated that had it been a totally clear air in Delhi or India, I would say the GDP of India would have been at least $100 billion more than what it is today. So the impact is both health and as well as economy of the country, and the related, you can imagine, the job creation and other things are there. Now, it is not that the government is not aware of it. Government is well aware and taking action, and both the central government as well as the state governments have initiated many programs to tackle this pollution. But unfortunately, we haven't seen the desired result so far. So uh, we hear about various sources causing pollution. People mostly talk about the vehicle pollution. They also talk about industrial pollution, the construction activities, because a lot of real estate construction, roads, bridges are going on, and those also causes what we call the PM 2.5 increase in the level. So, but not enough attention has been given to another cause, which is also substantial, as many studies have proved in the past, and that is the pollution caused by the burning of biomass or fossil fuel combustion, which are used still by a large section of the population for the purpose of cooking. And as for one of the estimate, it is as much as 30 in certain areas. So there was very good scheme of Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana launched by the government of India for subsidized distribution of LPG for those who are not having the poor section of the society. No doubt it has helped a bit, but it has its own challenges which we are all aware of, not aware of that much. So those challenges have to be met. The government is working on it, but at the same time, the it cannot be a once say solution which will take care of the entire pollution problem in India. And what we think is that the combustion of biomass for cooking is one of the major contributor in this part of the country at least, and that has caused has a substantial share in the pollution in India. So that is one issue which we will be discussing with the expert who have already joined, and I'm very happy to see them and welcome them. I think they have people from the this domain and know about it. And as we have seen in previous talk session, their views and their experience and their suggestion would be very useful in some in helping in finding out the solution to this problem as to what should be done to promote electric cooking in India, which will help to an extent in reducing the air pollution in this. So it is we are very lucky to have and very happy to see our special, speaker, first speaker in the session, who is Mr. Ashish Tiwari. Shri Tiwari is currently the secretary in the Department of Environment, Forest and Climate Change in the government of Uttar Pradesh. And just to give his a very small introduction, brief introduction, he is an officer from the Indian Forest Service and has about 25 years of experience in various related fields such as environment policy, climate change mitigation, and biodiversity conservation. He has held many senior posts in UP Government Pollution Control Board and State Climate Change Authority, and he has also worked in partnership with the World Bank and UNEP. And for the work he has performed at different places, he has been awarded. One of the major award given to him is WWF PATA Bagh Mitra Award for Tiger Conservation. So welcome, Shri Tiwari ji, in this talk session, and I would invite you to deliver your special address on the topic.
Thank you. I hope I am audible.
Yeah, you are.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sinha. And It's really my pleasure to be interacting with you all on this pertinent issue of adoption of electric cooking. And as you have rightly mentioned that cooking is a major challenge with respect to air pollution, ambient air pollution, indoor air pollution, and also the emission of greenhouse gases. Why is it a challenge? You rightly said that there is a good penetration of Ujjwala scheme across the country, but the challenge lies in the refill and stacking. Uh, the stacking practices found in especially the rural households. So this is the challenge, and I represent a state of Uttar Pradesh, which has got about 500 million, which has got about 50 million households. And out of those 50 million households, to our research and study, uh, 40 to 50% households either use biomass, cow dung cake, firewood, and also up to the some extent is stacking, where LPG adoption is there, then the stacking is also there. So cumulatively, recently I am very happy to tell you that recently we have done a deep dive, a very you can say a state of the science technical study on sources of air pollution. And you would be really amazed to note that the largest contribution of PM 2.5 to the air pollution, ambient air pollution of my state is coming from cooking and heating sector. Out of 66 microgram per meter cube, this is population weighted PM 2.5 for my state annual average. 14.6% comes from cooking and heating sector. So it's a mammoth problem and really needs a kind of a mammoth strategy to tackle. And adoption of LPG would of course be a solution so far as air pollution is concerned. It is a part solution so far as the global warming and greenhouse gas emission is concerned. But I am talking in the perspective of air pollution. It could be a solution, but adoption of LPG 100% would depend upon largely the income levels of the households. So it will be a long drawn process. And to our study, like 2035 is kind of a time frame for my state when all the households would be adopted to LPG 100%. So what we should do in between 2025 to 2035, these 10 years. So that there comes actually the importance of the alternative clean cooking solutions. So there is a bouquet of these alternative clean cooking solutions. One of them is actually the electric e-cooking, which you have mentioned. The other is the cooking from renewable sources. That could also be a very good solution. Recently, I think Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India is very pushing very much on household-based biodigesters. So that could also be one of the solutions. IOCL has recently uh, come out after their research with a technology called solar Saur Nutan. So that is also kind of a e-cooking, you can say, not electric cooking, but solar electric cooking, you can say. And but we worked very hard upon all these intermediate clean cooking solutions, and a very long research with our partners. Anju Goel is sitting from Terry. We have worked together for finding out what could be the way out so far as this challenging sector is concerned. So there are three concerns which I would like to mention. First is the right technology, which is very easy to adopt, because adoption of any kind of a cooking solution behavioral change process which needs very sustained and very continuous efforts by a very robust implementation framework. So I would rate it as the first and foremost very important challenges for adoption of clean cooking solutions. Second is the affordability, like whether those technologies are affordable to households or not. That could be the second thing. And third is what what are the post, you can say, supply services, post sale services, and the quality control, that would be very very important. So overall, these three things, if we have in our mind and go by the adoption of clean cooking solutions, then probably we would succeed in some ways. Coming back to e-cooking, the biggest challenge is the battery storage. Like we have worked upon the solar induction cooktop also. For example, the cost of battery would be very very high. We have spoken to Energy Efficiency Service Limited. Also, the cost for this technology is coming somewhere around 60 to 65,000. And out of that, I think more than 50% is the cost of the battery. And battery, I think 1200, 1300, 1300 cycles of recharge, you have to replace the battery. So there would be another cost added to it after maybe a period of 4 to 5 years. Coming back to Sorinutan, I think IOCL has tried to tackle this problem of battery cost by you can say innovating on thermal storage technology. So that could be, but the challenge with that is that you cannot cook your breakfast because you need 4 to 5 hours of time before you can actually cook your food. So the food can be cooked around noon, so that much time is needed. But in most of our rural villages, rural households, they need to cook their foods in the morning hours. So what I mean to say, that there are options, there are opportunities and challenges also, which we have to capitalize on opportunities. And the affordability, so affordability, I think the biggest thing which we have done is building carbon financing in clean cooking solutions, so that actually can lower the cost of the clean cooking solutions. And take for examples, we are recently implementing a household based biodigester project in state of Uttar Pradesh, where the cost is somewhere around 40,000 for one household, and around 15,000 subsidies given by MNRE, and 20,000 can come from carbon financing. The cost to the end user is around 4 to 5,000 rupees, which is around 10% of the cost of the technology. So this is how we have to really work on an innovative model where I think affordability of these solutions can be achieved. And the last thing which I would like to focus is the implementation framework, because everything revolves around the behavioral change. So if there is a great opportunity in terms of the rural livelihood mission, which is working across the country. The state rural livelihood mission has got a cadre of self-help groups, women-driven self-help groups, and there has been success stories around Bijli Sakhi, BC Sakhi, and maybe Lakpati Didi also. So there we have tried to we are trying to develop a cadre of environment Sakhi, Paryavaran Sakhi, who can actually visit from household to household for adoption of possible clean cooking solutions. So this kind of a framework, where I think woman driven framework would be very very important for adoption of clean cooking. So it's a huge a challenging field with great deal of, you can say, opportunities. And there are success stories across our countries in different pockets, in African countries also. And across learning from all those success stories will definitely bring to us the solutions. And UP being the largest state, we are trying to work on clean cooking solutions where we can actually minimize the PM 2.5 emissions and also the greenhouse gas emissions. And the innovative financing could also help in actually building affordability of such solutions. So with these words, I congratulate Finovista to have organized the discussion on this very pertinent issue, very challenging problem. And Finovista is also doing yeoman's job in the field of cooking, and I think which is very very important, and it relates to the health of women and also health of population in large. Then it's one of the most, and the study which the UP study has revealed that contribution from cooking is very high. So it is really gives us a way forward to adopt various solutions by doing so many innovations. Thank you so much.
Uh, Thank you so much, Tiwari ji, Sri Tiwari, the Secretary, Department of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of UP, for giving us an overview of the situation as regards transition to clean cooking and how it can help in bringing down the pollution level in the country. And you also talked about different technological solution and give your assessment as to what extent, because we also think that single solution may not be the may able to help the address the problem. And affordability, you rightly said, is a factor which will impact the transition greatly. So thank you very much, and I would like to now uh, introduce Dr. Nick Rissau, who is uh, international liaison manager in Modern Energy Cooking Services UK. Dr. Nick is a well-known name in the field of clean cooking. He holds Bachelor of Arts, MSc, and PhD degree in psychology from the University of Cambridge, Loughborough, and Sheffield, with a focus on psychology and user-centric system design. Nick has over 20 years of experience of working in UK government. His final role was head of international cooperation. So, welcome, Dr. Nick, and would like to invite you to take it forward from here and moderate the session. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha. Thank you for your kind words. And I should acknowledge the work that Vimal and Sheetal have done in leading Finovista on this. They are currently on holiday, which is why they're not here with us today, but they need a break. They've been working so hard, as Mr. Sinha said. Okay, so thanks to everyone who's on the line. We're going to have a really interesting discussion. Is I think very well framed by our previous speaker, Mr. Tiwari, who has set out both the need and some of the challenges. One of the things that we do a lot in MEX is bringing worlds together. We mainly focus on bringing the world of cooking together with the world of energy access and trying to help those different groups and communities to cooperate. This session is about the world of air pollution and the world of cooking. And again, there's good connections to be made. And I'm really pleased that we have a panel of experts who understand those connections and can help us to think through what the options might be to harness the potential of moving away from biomass-based cooking towards cleaner options that could benefit the planet, individuals and our societies. We sent them quite a complex list of questions to respond to, ranging from the current air pollution measures that the government of India's got, how much is being promoted around electric cooking, and we're just going to invite them to set out their thoughts on what would really make a difference in the current context. And again, as has been said, it's a complex thing to change how people cook, and involves quite a lot of different aspects. And I think you're right, Mr. Tiwari, to kind of point to the looking for the opportunities, looking for things that we can capitalize on. And we're currently very interested in the potential to work with the Prime Minister's solar rooftop program, which is attracting a lot of attention and is generating energy at the local household level, and potentially could be a source of a way of enabling people to increase their electric cooking. I won't spend any more time talking. We want to hear our esteemed panelists, but I want to say to the audience that we were going to invite each panelist to speak for maybe five or 7 minutes, and then there'll be a time for questions, for discussion. And so if you have comments or questions that you'd like to raise, or you simply want to introduce yourselves, do put a message in the chat. I will be keeping an eye on that. And yeah, just tell us who you are, maybe give an email if you want to be connected. And then if you've got a question for the panelists or for us to discuss generally, put it in there and we will pick it up as we can. So use that chat function. Okay, so our first panelist is Professor Prashant Kumar, who is a leading expert in air quality and health, serving as the co-director of the Institute for Sustainability and the chair of air quality and health at the University of Surrey in the UK. He's also the founding director of the Global Centre for Clean Air Research and has pioneered impactful research on air pollution reduction, climate change mitigation and sustainable urban living. With over 400 publications and numerous awards, Professor Kumar's work continues influencing global clean air and environmental policies. And in particular, he has sent us a link to a very useful body of guidance, which I'm just going to put a link to in the chat, about how to facilitate a transition to cleaner cooking with an eye to improving the air quality in the environment. But Professor Kumar, would you like to give us your perspective, please?
Yes, so first of all, Nick and Vimal and the colleagues, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk in this forum. And I must say that I did not prepare any slides, so I'm just going to speak actually for a few minutes. Just to add to what Mr. Tiwari said earlier and put some numbers in the perspective. So the biomass, which is broadly used in countries like India, is a major contributor to the pollution as well as to the health. So if we just talk about the numbers, it can contribute up to around 25 to 30% of the total, like the PM 2.5 emissions in India. And it's almost costing over 400,000 deaths every year. And if you just put them in a bigger perspective, so it's almost the size of the smallest European country, which is called Malta, which has got the similar population. So you can think from the perspective that how much impact it's having. And globally, if you look around the impact, it's around 3.8 million. So, and if you see from that perspective, it could almost cost around 15% of the total that's happening in India because of the biomass cooking. So this is a major problem. This transition to the e-cooking, I think this is a fantastic, the initiative which can make a huge impact to reduce the, the exposure. Now, there are two things which one need to understand when it comes to the cooking there. So when you cook it, so it is making the contribution to the atmospheric pollutants, which is very well covered, as a topic in the NCAP, which is the National, the Ambient Air Quality Program. And then the biggest impact it has is in terms of the exposure to the people, because the contributions are going to the ambient air, but the people who are really cooking are the ones actually who are getting exposed to those flash emissions, which are coming out, during this process. And that impact is where you could see those deaths and all. And my feeling is that those numbers are still undersubscribed because a lot of them are not documented in developing countries because of the data, the non-availability of the data and so on. Now, this comes actually this if you kind of drop down this problem a little bit more, then it can go down to what's happening around the cooking area. So you got two issues there. The one is what type of fuel you are using. So this is where the biomass, LPG, electric, charcoal, and all actually, which is still being used in big part of the world, comes in picture. So depending on what type of fuel you're using, your exposure could be very different. So for example, the guidance document which Nick was mentioning, you could see actually some of the statistics, and which clearly shows that if you're cooking by using the natural gas or the LPG, your exposure reduction could be almost 3 times less compared with when you're cooking with a charcoal. And that's a very powerful statement in the sense that you are basically cutting the exposure at the source right away by making those changes there. Now, the second thing is what you're cooking. We really don't talk about that, and this is very cultural. But you will see that, again, the guidance we did, this was based on the 12 countries actually where we did these studies. You could find that some of these cooking habits, for example, frying and, a lot of kind of, using the oil, which we do use quite a lot actually in the Indian cooking, that could really release a lot of these particles, and those particles could add actually to your exposure there. So the total impact on the people is not just on the fuel actually they're using, but also actually what they're doing in terms of what they're cooking in there. Now, if you wanted to kind of implement this bigger kind of the problem into the context, so you can see that there are 5 steps in a very simple sense. The first is technology. So if you're talking about from moving from the biomass to electric or to the solar cooking, is the technology good enough to accommodate those changes? For example, when it comes to the solar cooking, and as you rightly heard about the issue of the batteries, it can add cost, but it's not only adding the cost. You can think that countries like India, where we got over billion population, and everyone is dumping those batteries, that what will be the impact on the environment in terms of the waste which they will produce. So the technology is yet not there in terms of making it environmental friendly. The second thing is then the affordability. And you can heard about the Pradhan Mantri, the usual Ujjwal Yojana. That basically allows the people to get a little bit of the subsidies, and that can allow to access to the clean cooking appliances, as well as to the the related to that one is when we talk about the electric cooking. I come from a village which is very close to Delhi in the UP. Still, when I visit there, a lot of time the electricity is not there. And this is very close to Delhi, which is very, it's like it comes around the NCR. So the problem is that if you don't have the access to the electricity around the clock, the issue of the adaptation becomes very difficult, because at that time people wanted to cook, and that's not in there. Now, before you implement those measures, the one important thing is empowering people. And I could see that as part of the NCAP, there is a bullet point where they talk about empowering people. So it's basically telling people, especially the those actually who are using who does cooking more frequently, the women, children, and the vulnerable population, that what kind of health impact it could have, what kind of what you could do actually in order to save yourself and your near ones by making some of the behavior changes. And then comes the implementation of those issues or these techniques, and this is a lot going on in that direction already. But the one thing which usually we don't see much is the monitoring. Monitoring in the sense that, do we have this data which can provide the evidence base, which can provide the longitudinal, the results of the studies that can tell that what impact these certain measures have been implemented, have been made. And I was looking into it, and I could not find actually a lot of evidence base there. So that means that there is quite a lot actually to do in the cycle before, and then improve it. So this is a fantastic initiative. There is a lot of work going on, but my feeling is there is a lot more needed to push this agenda forward, and sooner, because every day we lose people because of the impact of the unhealthy cooking. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, very important points. And I think you're absolutely right to point to the importance of looking into the future to see what kind of waste problem we might be generating as well. And we certainly see the issue of reliability being a reality for many people across India. One of the things that I find fascinating is the way in which I learn every day more and more about Indian women and how resourceful they are, and how they make cooking decisions, sometimes on a day-by-day basis, hour by hour. And so they like to have a number of options. And I think if we can give them some options, which means that they can, more and more shift away from cooking with biomass, even if it's not there 100% of the time, it's still potentially valuable for them. But yeah, let's move on. Thank you very much for those comments. We will come back to them, and I'm pleased to see we're getting some good introductions in the chat. There's a range of people from different countries, particularly from African countries, which is great to see. Our next panelist is Dr. Andrew Goel, who's associate director, at the Air Quality Research in Terry, who focuses on air quality research and has been working for the last 15 years on air quality management. Her expertise is in air quality management, starting from emission inventory analysis and air quality monitoring. So maybe you can respond to some of the points just made to help in the developing of air quality management plans, capacity building and awareness generation. And you've got strong relationships that you've developed with government departments, academic institutions, NGOs and industries. Dr. Goel has a Master of Technology in Energy and Environment Management from IIT Delhi and obtained a PhD again, University of Surrey. We seem to have a connection here. So great to have you on the panel, and we welcome your perspective, Dr. Goel.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for the opportunity. Just wanted to mention, like, I've done my PhD under the supervision of Professor Prashant Kumar. So that's a connection right here. Yeah. So Nick, when we talk about, clean cooking energy and the emissions that are coming from the solid biomass burning in the overall AQ contributions. So Terry has done certain estimates and would like to show that and comment on those. Can you please move on to the next slide? Yeah. So I think, enough background has been set up by Professor Kumar, by Mr. Tiwari, that domestic biomass burning is one of the pertinent issue to the problem of the air quality. So we did these estimates for the year 2019 at the national scale, and we found that around 27% of the particulate matter, especially the fine particulate matter in the country level, if we see, is being contributed by the residential biomass burning. And we also did the estimates for Delhi and NCR, and as per our estimates, especially if we talk about Delhi is mostly urbanized city wherein you will find solid biomass being used only in the urban slums or the nearby NCR areas. But in Delhi, hardly, like, urban population is not using basically solid biomass for the cooking purposes. So as per our estimates, even in Delhi, like 15% of the contribution in the PM 2.5 concentration comes from the solid biomass burning. So which is a huge contribution, we cannot neglect this sector at all, and this do require taking stringent actions in order to mitigate it. Further, when we talk about cooking, there could be two levels of cooking within the urban areas we can talk about. We all are focusing, which is need also the household level cooking, but there is a cooking that also happens in the commercial areas. For example, a lot of tandoors, which is there specific for the, if we talk about Indian conditions. So most of the Indian cooking, especially in the commercialized setup, happens on the tandoors, and these tandoors also use coal for the cooking. So that is one of the major contributor for the city level emissions when we talk about from the cooking sector. So that also needs to taken into account. Recently, Terry has done a small pilot project in the city of Lucknow to basically, to assess how these tandoor owners can be shifted to a cleaner cooking energy. And while we were doing surveys, what we realized is affordability, as it's been pointed by the previous speakers as well, remains one of the major issues. Because when we switch to the electric tandoor from a coal-based tandoor, first of all, the capital cost was huge. The second thing was, if some fault happens within the electric tandoor, so one needs to change the overall tandoor body. There was no like repair and the maintenance sort of a thing was available for the commercial cooking. So my point over here is when we talk about cooking, especially in the urban domain, we really need to look at both the setups, the commercial cooking as well as the household level cooking, because most of this commercial cooking happens in a congested marketplaces, wherein it leads to a lot of exposure to the local population, apart from the household level. Further, when you talk about National Clean Air Program, so as Professor Kumar has mentioned, especially the city level, the urban slum level cooking is being covered under the scope of the National Clean Air Program. But what is the problem with the National Clean Air Program is that uh, the matrices that they focus for the monitoring and the evaluation of the program is primarily PM10. And when we talk about city level PM10 concentrations, so the road dust comes out to be one of the major contributor instead of a clean cooking practices, because most of the solid biomass based cooking happens in the rural areas, not in the urban slums. And it is a major contributor, especially when we talk about city level sources. So it's a major contributor in the PM 2.5 emissions, not in the PM10 emissions. So to really put a focus on it, so the government slowly and steadily need to change the matrices from PM10 to PM 2.5 level, which is the need of the hour, because initially the PM10 level matrices were started because there was not enough monitoring network for PM 2.5 in India. But slowly and steadily over the years, that network has been developed. So now it is a right time for the government also to move from PM 2.5, PM10 to PM 2.5 based monitoring and evaluation, so that all these combustion sources which actually, emit toxic particulate matter can be taken into account, instead of just putting a lot of focus on the road dust based emissions. So that is the point I wanted to highlight over here. Can we please move on to the next slide? So, I tried to compile the different schemes which were launched by the government of India for the clean cooking practices. And what I could find is there are schemes associated with the LPG penetration. We have all talked about Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. There has been program for the improved biomass cook stoves, which were being launched by the Ministry of New and the Renewable Energy. And a lot of emphasis has been laid down on the biogas promotion, especially in the rural household, not only in the rural household, rather community scale household or the commercialized biogas plants, in order to have a penetration in the different sectors. And there has been an emphasis on the piped natural gas. But, I could not find any scheme which is related to the e-cooking, which is basically promotion of the e-cooking either in the urban households, commercial areas, or in the rural households. So definitely, as Mr. Tiwari has also mentioned, that we really need to look into the bouquet of solutions while we are talking about this mammoth problem of a clean cooking fuel penetration, because LPG cannot be the single and the sole solution to this problem. Can we please move on to the next slide? I came across this very interesting report, which this is a survey which was being done by CEW. And this basically, talks about the access to the access to the electricity across the 7 Indian states. And on the right hand side, if you can see, it's basically electricity index, which covers about, capacity, the access to the grid electricity, the type of the supply that is available, affordability. So it is being, calculated on the basis of a number of sub indicators. And on the map where the shades are darker, it shows that there is a greater accessibility and the greater access to the electricity. And we can clearly see that, especially in these 7 Indian states, the access to the electricity is really poor. The highest access that they could see was only like ranging lying in the range of a 30 to 40, while the highest limit of the index was 100. And further, if we try to look into the evening hours of a supply and the access to the electricity as per the different tiers of the households. So herein, the tier 0 of a household basically is these are the households in a state which have a less than 2 hours of electricity supply during evening hours, while the tier 1 has a 2 to 3 hours of a supply, and the tier 2 and the tier 3 has more than 4 hours of a supply. So we could clearly see that, most of the households, they have a less than 2 hours of a supply. So if the households are having less than 2 hours of a supply, and that too is like with not a proper voltage and the proper requirements, so to make a shift from a solid biomass based cooking to e-cooking becomes really difficult. So we really need to work on these factors and try to see how these can be accommodated in order to provide access to the clean energy to our, especially the focus, the vulnerable population group when we talk about. Can we please move on to the next slide? Yeah, so these are the different schemes which were launched by the government of India in order to improve electricity access across the country. And as per the government data, if you will see, so in the year 2019, almost 100% of the Indian villages were electrified. But we really need to look into the definition of the electrification over here. So when they say 100% of the villages are electrified, it does not mean that the 100% of the population in each of these villages is being connected to the grid or has an access to the electricity. So they consider that a village is electrified when 10% of the households in a village are being connected to the grid. So, it's not about the numbers only, it's also about when we say 100% electrification, so there has to be it does not mean that access is 100%. So that is an important factor to consider. Can we please move on to the next slide? So I think this slide, Mr. Tiwari has already explained. When we talk about clean cooking solution, so these are the different pillars of clean cooking solution in any state of India. So first is technology. Definitely, we need to have a bouquet of technologies in order to, so that the consumer has a choice to choose which clean cooking technology fits to his parameters in terms of the affordability, access, convenience, etc. There has to be a proper distribution mechanism. There has to be proper supply and the chain mechanism for the technology, for the associated fuel. Financing, affordability is one of the major issues. So we really need to see how these clean cooking technologies can be made affordable for the vulnerable population. Maybe through innovative financing mechanism, maybe through leveraging finances, through carbon credits and the other microfinancing schemes. So that gap needs to be addressed. And the last but not the least is the behavior change. Sometimes what happens is you have met all the three pillars, but the person is not willing to change the behavior, not willing to shift from a solid biomass based cooking to the cleaner cooking practices. So, and in order to have all these four pillars of a clean cooking technology, there is a need, there is a support that is needed in terms of the ecosystem development. Yeah. Thank you. That's it from my side. Thank you. Yeah.
Perfect. That's great. Thanks very much, Dr. Joel. And again, you set out the different elements that need to come together to deliver a solution. And I think you're absolutely right that people need choice, they need options, not just to be told one thing. I think sadly we're seeing the price of LPG increasing and people are shifting back from what was a commitment to a cleaner fuel to solid fuel for a greater proportion of their cooking as the costs work against them on that. So we've heard from, if you like, air quality and air pollution management experts. Our last panelist is Mr. Mayank Taneja, if I pronounced that rightly, who is the director of Niche Horeca Services. And he's going to speak, I think, focusing on electric cooking and their appliances and their usage. He's passionate about blending culinary arts with modern technology, graduated from the Institute of Hotel Management in Bhopal, and gained 4 years' experience in the Western kitchen section of the Oberoi in New Delhi. He later transitioned into culinary education as a chef trainer, during which he also completed an MBA. And currently he represents several esteemed Italian brands as their corporate chef and sales representative for all of India. and he's the director of Mish Horeca Services, as I mentioned, a company that specializes in manufacturing commercial e-cooking appliances. So I think you can speak to the needs of the commercial cooking sector as well as potentially the household cooking. But Mr. Tanjaja, would you like to give us your comments, please?
Thank you for inviting me, Mr. Nick. And as I was listening to all the panelists, and most of the points everybody has already covered, and I think the transition is happening now. If you see, like, I'm in the industry from last 15 years, and I am into the commercial cooking line, as where Sanju said that the most of the pollution is coming from the commercial sector. Definitely, residential sector is also contributing, but if you compare, the commercial is contributing most of the uh, this pollution, air pollution, and transition is happening. Transition is definitely happening, and I think a few points I would like to point out right now. As she said that the behavior changes is very important. If you put everything right, but still you have to change the mindset of the consumer, whether it is from the residential area, whether it is from the commercial area. So I think for that you need to change the mindset of the user, whomsoever is using the appliances, whether they are electric or they are induction based, any kind of electric cooking, appliances. So for changing the awareness, you have to create the awareness. To change the mindset, you have to create the awareness, and for that, I think there should be different kind of awareness program should happen through every kind of mode. Every channel should promote these kind of awareness, the benefits of the e-cooking, and the reliability of the e-cooking. Because if everything is you have to put like it has to be a mindset that should be changed. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to do the transition. So I just want to add the point that whether it becomes affordable, whether it is reliable, but the awareness has to be created. So that is all I want to add in my points. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that. Just to respond to the point about changing mindsets, I think that's absolutely right, and I think the challenge often is to work out what is the message that you're trying to convey that will help people to make decisions. And a lot has been said about the affordability challenge and the kind of capital cost of the appliances. What I perceive, and I believe to be the case from our own research, is that over a period of maybe 2 or 3 years, the household can still be better off if they shift to electric cooking, because the electricity cost can be a lot cheaper than the cost of biomass if they're having to buy it. It's more challenging if you're in a rural area where you can source biomass at no cost, but the economics over the long term can be beneficial. And that's something that Finovista are currently studying. They're currently preparing another version of our e-cookbook, looking at comparing the cost of cooking with LPG, electricity, biomass, and other options. Okay, so we've had a range of views, quite a lot, if I'm honest, about the sort of the challenges and how we tackle these. And it's been said that the government is maybe not doing enough to support e-cooking. There is a Go Electric campaign, which is essentially a kind of marketing program that has been supporting the awareness of electric vehicles and e-cooking, but there's no financial subsidy available for e-cooking. I think colleagues have mentioned the potential for carbon finance to play a part in this, and that's certainly something that we're working hard with the sector on to develop models around that. I'm just looking in the chat if there's anyone who'd like to offer any question or raise a hand, or whether one of the panelists would like to come back and offer further comments based on what they've heard regarding kind of the message to the government or what further research might be most useful at this point. Okay, I was interested in the study that you did, Terry, in Lucknow of the tandoori. Yeah, Dr. Goel. I think the point about the device itself needs to be both maintainable and repairable and energy efficient. But yes, Dr. Goel, would you like to make some further comments?
Yeah. So basically, I was going through the Q&A and I was looking at the how the clean cooking technologies could be made consumer affordable and how they can be distributed to the rural consumer base. So looking at this, Terry has done a study of an innovative model in Bihar, wherein what we did is we got involved with the local rural household women and provided them the entrepreneurship opportunities. So we trained them in the clean cooking technologies, especially the improved biomass cook stoves, and they became then your brand ambassador, especially in the rural community, to sell the improved cook stoves at an affordable prices, and also some loan facility was also provided to them through a microfinancing mechanism. So that had a multiple benefits, because for the rural households also, related to the operation and the maintenance, that was available in their local area through that entrepreneur, and also that was an additional income that is being generated for that lady. So we need to come up with the sustainable innovative models if we really want these solutions to get adopted at a local scale. So that is a response to the question number one. Now when we come to the question number two, which is about the commercial cooking. So can you please repeat the question again? I missed your question. Yeah.
Is it there? I'm looking at the Q&A, and there's a yes, how to encourage adoption in rural areas, which you responded to. And there's one later on which talks about the use of schools and colleges. And we see a lot of interest in Anganwadis as a way of raising awareness of electric cooking. Stuart at Village Infrastructure Angels has commented about batteries as e-waste, and that we need to be kind of making sure that we can provide good recycling to support electric cooking where there's batteries involved. Then there's a question about the provision of access to finance. I don't know if any of the panelists have an expertise in this. We certainly work with MFIs, we work with bodies like Microenergy Credit in order to unlock the potential of longer term financial options and new business models, including carbon finance, to address that big affordability challenge, which we have ourselves acknowledged and documented. So there are models out there, and maybe looking at some of the earlier talk series, watching some of those might give you some helpful pointers. Someone is asking about if there are programs in schools and colleges they'd like to know about them. So maybe Finovista could pass on details of some of the things that we know are going on. And then William Brent talks about the fact that a lot of the generation of energy in India is still from coal burning. Again, I'm not sure if that's something the panelists have expertise on, but do you have thoughts on the sort of the cleaner in the sense of carbon reduction options that might be available to people? Clearly, biogas and biodigesters were mentioned at the very start as a thing that MNRE is very keen to promote and support. And there are some companies with some very strong business models in that area that we've been focusing on and supporting. Again, does anyone want to come in with a comment? Do raise your hand if you'd like to offer a view. And then there's a final question about the levelized cost of electricity and solar mini grids, which I have to say I don't know very much about. which again may not be an area of expertise. I think we're particularly keen on this, the solar rooftop program that the Prime Minister has been promoting in India, and that's had very large take up. What we don't know enough about is the profile of the households that are taking it up. But that seems to provide an opportunity for a household to generate some electricity themselves while still being connected to the grid. So instead of there necessarily being a battery involved, you can use the grid as your source of energy when the sun isn't shining, but you can be generating your own electricity when there is sunshine and solar generation. And that seems to be a very promising opportunity to help people think about how electricity could be a way of making their lives better, particularly including electric cooking. So we're looking at potentially piloting something around that to understand the connections there. Okay, I'm going to give a last chance for any of the panelists to make a final point or comment. Other than that, I think we maybe come to the end. Thank you very much. No?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you to everyone. It's been an important discussion. No easy answers, as ever, but we're glad to be part of the process of sharing knowledge and building collaborations. So,
Thank you, everyone.